Hello, I'm Kelly Cook. I'm an Agile coach here at And Digital with a quick video for you today on how to design your remote retrospectives. There will be a follow-up video on how to run them, how to facilitate them, but today is purely about getting a plan together. So let's get into it. The whole purpose of a retrospective is to take a moment to pause from delivery and executing your plan and actually reflect on what can you learn from your experiences and how can you apply those to do what you're doing, but do it even better and improve every single week, every single fortnight. And so a good retrospective draws out learnings and it draws out improvement ideas. And when you're remote, you need to work a little bit harder to get the extra input, the insights, and the engagement from all of your team members. And so designing your retro is really important. So you need to set it up for success in terms of gathering those insights. So I'll give you a few top tips today. Here are my 6 ingredients for what makes a good remote retrospective. It needs a bit more preparation than you would have done if you were a co-located retrospective facilitator. So actually make your plan and execute it. Think clearly about the activities that you want to run, the structure and the format and the time boxes available. Make sure that you're really clear about the goals, what do you want to achieve by the end of that hour together. And what data do you want to bring to the table to paint a really full picture of how the sprint went? So you need to pair both the qualitative data, how people perceived the sprint to go, how they felt it went, with the quantitative data like cycle time and what your morale score is, for example. For remote retros, it's also really important to think about tools and prep work. So tools wise, you probably need a digital whiteboard that you can collaborate in real time together on, and you need video conferencing. And if at all possible, if comfortable, encourage your team to have videos on so that you've got both verbal and non-verbal cues to work with. And finally, prep work. As the facilitator, you'll obviously have to do some prep work in designing your session. But if there's any pre-thinking or pre-work that you want your team to prepare, then make sure you give them ample time to do that as well. So when getting ready for your remote retro, there's 3 things. Think about the logistics, and that is think carefully about the structure that you want to plan around. What's the format? What are the activities that you want to run? Are there specific conversations that you want to encourage the team to have? In terms of delivery, really make sure that you've planned out the time boxes carefully. And if you're new to it, definitely over coordinate. So make a full plan for every 5 minutes of the session so that you know exactly where you should be up to throughout the session. And I really encourage you to invest the 5 minutes at the beginning and 5 minutes at the end to really set the scene properly and wrap up really properly. Because that really sets the tone and the energy at the beginning, and it also recaps the commitments and the actions and makes sure that everyone leaves on the same page with the same understanding and expectations. And then finally, think about how you want to communicate. So don't leave things to the last minute. Make sure the team is clear on what the goals are, what the expectations are. Make sure that they can access the whiteboard that you've set up, and make sure they know if they need specific materials. For example, if you're doing an icebreaker, do they need anything specific for that? Okay, here's an example of a plan. I always like to do an actual A4 page and draw out what I'm going to do and keep my facilitator's notes there. So you can see I've got a section for what I might share with the team in terms of setting the stage. I've got a section for the morale check. How will I facilitate the morale pool? And the format for the main discussions. So let's do more of this because that was really valuable. That helped our sprint be successful. It helped us become effective. Let's do less of this because that caused us delays and frustration and rework and got in the way of our plan. And thanks for this, so that you can really celebrate the learnings and also recognize people's hard work and appreciate what has gone well. And I've split those 3 elements into 2 main categories. One being people, practices, team, process, and the other being technology, tools, and the product. And you could choose totally different categories. It's totally up to you. but make sure that the format is really clear and people are clear on what you're asking them to reflect on. Going forward, here's a more generic plan that you could use. So again, a moment for setting the stage at the beginning, a goals section so that you can highlight exactly what you're trying to achieve in that session for the team. Analyze and action would be the section where you flesh out your main format or structure or the main activities where you describe those. And then close, in case you want to end with a particular quote or a particular question, or if you want to wrap up in a particular way, then you could add notes to that there as well. Right, now you've got your plan, you need to find a way to put it into action. And so if you were a co-located team, you'd go to the meeting room early and set up your whiteboard and post-it notes and Sharpies. But now that you're a remote team, you need to do this digitally. And so you need to set up your whiteboard. So here's a couple of examples of how you could turn those plans that I just showed you into your whiteboard. And you can see there's really clear sections where the team know to raise post-it notes and they can easily group their insights and vote on them and prioritize that way. And so that's one way you could turn your whiteboards into a reality. So where can you learn more? There's a couple of links here. We'll also share these slides. And like I said, there'll be a video on how to run your retro next time. Some tools that have anonymous voting are Mural, Idea Board, and Fun Retro. And there's definitely others as well. Some of those also have inbuilt timers. So if that's useful for you, then make sure that your tool does that. And if you want to break your team into small groups of 2s and 3s, maybe for a particular activity, then consider that you'll have to design around that because you'll have to set up your session with breakout rooms. So that's the whistle-stop tour on designing a remote retro. If you've got any questions, definitely get in touch. The email is below, hello@and.digital, and I'm more than happy to help you where I can. Otherwise, I will be with you shortly for another video on how to run your remote retros. Bye for now.